The Galactic Empire had arrived. A fleet of majestic, gleaming starships hovered above Earth, casting shadows over the planet like a storm cloud. Their alien crews, highly advanced and technologically superior, had come to inspect the defenses of the human race. It was clear that their mission was not one of diplomacy or alliance, but rather one of conquest and power. To them, Earth was an insignificant dot in the galaxy, a weak planet full of primitive species and outdated technology. Inside the command ship, the high-ranking alien officers gathered around a holographic table. They sneered at the images of Earth's military forces, displayed in high-definition projections for their amusement. The aliens, with their advanced understanding of weaponry, saw humanity as nothing more than a curiosity, like a relic from a forgotten time. They laughed at Earth's defenses. Old missile systems, aging tanks, and underpowered laser cannons that could hardly hold their ground against the might of the Galactic Empire. "I can't believe they still use these," one alien commander sneered, pointing at an image of Earth's ancient missile silos. "These are nothing more than museum pieces. We could wipe out their entire planet with a single ship." The room filled with laughter. The alien officers continued mocking the Earth's military technology, calling it outdated, obsolete, and laughable. They treated Earth as a joke, an easy target for the advanced technology they had at their disposal. But they didn't know Earth's history. They didn't understand the strength of the human spirit, nor the innovations hidden deep within the planet's forgotten archives. Beneath the laughter of the aliens, there was something stirring, something that would change the course of the galaxy. Captain Bonner, a human military engineer, was working late in one of the underground facilities on Earth. He had overheard the mocking words of the alien commanders through the facility's communication system. Anger bubbled inside him, but he kept it in check. He knew the truth. He knew that the aliens had no idea what they were up against. Bonner had always believed in the strength of Earth's history. He had spent years studying the military technology from Earth's past, from the days when humans fought with missile systems that could strike with devastating precision. The technology may have been old, but it was far from useless. In fact, with the right enhancements, these museum pieces could be more dangerous than the aliens could ever imagine. The room Bonner worked in was filled with relics of humanity's military past. The walls were lined with old missiles, long forgotten by most, but carefully maintained by Bonner and his team. They were supposed to be nothing more than historical artifacts, reminders of a time when humanity had to fight for its survival. The aliens saw them as useless, but Bonner knew better. Sneaking past the guards and security systems, Bonner entered the heart of the facility. Here, hidden beneath layers of secrecy and years of dust, were the remnants of Earth's most powerful weapons. The room was dimly lit, but Bonner had worked here enough to know every inch of the space. As he approached the central control panel, a soft hum filled the air. His heart raced. There was no turning back now. Bonner had spent weeks preparing for this moment. The missile systems had been decommissioned for years, but he had secretly been working on reviving them, upgrading them with the latest technology that the Galactic Empire had no knowledge of. Human ingenuity had always been the key to survival, and Bonner was about to prove it. He pressed a button, and the dormant missile system began to stir. For the first time in years, the missile control system flickered to life. The screens hummed as the old systems, once thought dead, began to power up. The missiles were no longer just relics of the past. They were ready for action. Bonner smiled to himself, knowing that he was about to give the Galactic Empire a surprise they would never forget. Meanwhile, in the alien command ship, the laughter continued. The aliens mocked humanity's museum pieces, unaware of the imminent threat. One alien officer, standing near the holotable, pointed to the Earth missile systems. "All they have left are these old relics," the officer said with a chuckle. "The humans couldn't defend themselves against our fleet, even if they tried. This is going to be easy." But just as the words left his mouth, the ship's communication system crackled with static. The alien officer's eyes widened as he looked around. There was a sudden, deep hum in the background. Something wasn't right. Before the officer could react, the ground trembled beneath their feet. The lights in the room flickered as the hum grew louder, sending a wave of tension through the command ship. The alien officers froze, their amusement replaced by confusion and uncertainty. "What is that?" one of them demanded. At that very moment, the screen showing the Earth's missile systems blinked, and then, without warning, the first missile activated. Bonner stood before the control panel, his hands trembling with a mixture of excitement and fear. He had never seen this system come to life like this before. The missile, once dormant for years, now came alive with the hum of advanced technology. Its engines roared to life as it prepared for launch. The missile was no longer a museum piece. It was humanity's secret weapon, one that had been hidden away, forgotten by the rest of the galaxy. Bonner knew that the moment this missile launched, everything would change. The alien commanders on the ship looked at each other in stunned silence as they watched the missile systems on their screens. The missile had just come online, and they had no idea how it could be possible. These missiles were supposed to be useless, but now they were ready for battle. Bonner gritted his teeth as he watched the missile prepare for launch. He knew the odds were against humanity. The aliens were technologically superior, and Earth was on the brink of annihilation. But Bonner refused to believe that humanity was weak. If anything, this missile was the proof that Earth had a fighting chance. For a moment, time seemed to slow. The hum of the missile system filled Bonner's ears, and his eyes fixed on the control screen. The missile was locked on target, ready to unleash its fury. With a final press of the button, he launched the missile into the cold void of space, where it hurtled toward the alien fleet. The sound of the missile's engines roaring to life was deafening, even as it shot through the atmosphere and into the vast emptiness beyond. Bonner's heart pounded in his chest as he watched the missile's progress. He had no idea what would happen next, but one thing was certain. Humanity was no longer the joke the Galactic Empire thought it was. The alien officers watched in horror as the missile tore through space, moving faster than anything they had ever seen. The missile had become a symbol of Earth's defiance, a reminder that even the most obsolete technology, when combined with human willpower, could become a weapon of unimaginable power. The aliens were not laughing anymore. They were watching in stunned silence, realizing that the human race, the sane one they had mocked, was not as weak as they had believed. And as the missile raced toward its target, the question remained, could this be Earth's secret weapon? Would it be enough to turn the tide of the battle? For now, all Bonner could do was wait. The fate of humanity was in motion, and the future of the galaxy hung in the balance. The situation had escalated far beyond anyone's expectations. The Galactic Empire's fleet, massive and menacing, had begun its descent toward Earth, their confidence evident in every move they made. They saw the planet as little more than a stepping stone to their intergalactic conquest, and Earth's defenses, old, outdated, and laughable, were no match for their overwhelming technological superiority. In their arrogance, the aliens initiated orbital bombardment. Beams of concentrated energy rained down from their ships, targeting Earth's major cities with ruthless precision. Cities that had taken centuries to build were now being reduced to rubble in mere moments. Humans were left with little time to react, their shelters barely able to withstand the assault from above. Buildings crumbled. The ground shook violently as the alien weapons tore through Earth's infrastructure. The air was thick with smoke, and the skies above glowed a deep red as flames and destruction lit up the horizon. Humanity was in the grip of destruction, and for a moment, it seemed that all hope was lost. But Captain Bonner refused to give in. He stood amidst the chaos, his mind racing with determination. The missile system he had just activated was only the beginning. Humanity's survival depended on more than just a single missile. It depended on the old technology, the forgotten weapons that Earth still held in secret. Bonner was no longer just an engineer. He was a man on a mission driven by the need for revenge. His heart ached as he thought of his late brother, a soldier who had fallen in battle long before this war began. His brother had always believed in the power of Earth's old weapons, the same weapons that the aliens now mocked. He had fought with pride, knowing that humanity's strength was not just in their technology, but in their spirit, their refusal to surrender. It was this spirit that Bonner carried with him now. His brother's death had fueled his determination to use these weapons. These so-called museum pieces, to their full potential. They weren't just old relics. They were Earth's last hope. In the dark underground facility, Bonner and his small team of engineers worked furiously. The sound of keyboards clicking and monitors beeping filled the room as they scrambled to upgrade the missile systems with technology that had never been revealed to the public. The clock was ticking, and the Galactic Empire's bombardment continued, its deadly energy striking closer and closer to their location. Bonner moved quickly, his hands shaking from both exhaustion and the weight of responsibility. The team was working on the most advanced modifications they could make: cloaking devices, artificial intelligence targeting systems, and the latest power sources that could turn the old missiles into modern weapons of mass destruction. Each modification was a gamble, a test of Earth's ingenuity against the Empire's overwhelming firepower. "Is it working?" Bonner asked, his voice filled with tension. He was staring at a screen that flickered with static as the missile systems came online. The upgrades were being integrated, but there was no guarantee they would work. Not under pressure like this. Not when the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. One of his engineers, a young woman named Lieutenant Harris, looked up from her station, sweat dripping down her face. "It's coming together, Captain. But we need more time." Time was something they didn't have. The alien ships were already positioned in low Earth orbit, their weapons primed for another round of devastation. The next blast could wipe out everything they had worked for, everything they had fought for. But Bonner refused to let that happen. He looked back at the screen showing the status of the missile systems. The AI targeting system had been activated, and the cloaking device was almost ready. In just a few minutes, these old missiles would be invisible to the alien sensors, making them far more difficult to intercept. If they could get them launched in time, they might have a fighting chance. Bonner's mind wandered briefly, his thoughts drifting back to his brother. His brother had always believed in the power of humanity's will. He had never been the type to give up, even when faced with overwhelming odds. Bonner could almost hear his voice now, urging him to keep fighting, to never back down. The pain of his loss was still fresh, but it fueled his determination. He couldn't let the aliens take Earth. He couldn't let his brother's death be in vain. This was more than just a battle for survival. It was a fight for humanity's dignity, for their right to exist in a galaxy that had long underestimated them. The sound of approaching footsteps broke Bonner's concentration. He turned to see his team's leader, Sergeant Rourke, entering the room, his face grim. "Captain, the bombardment's getting worse. They're targeting more of the cities." Bonner nodded. "I know. We need to get these missiles online and launch them now. We don't have time to waste." Rourke looked at the screen, his brow furrowing as he saw the progress of the missile systems. "We can do this, sir, but we need to move faster." The team worked as fast as they could, each person aware of the critical importance of what they were doing. The power of these missiles, enhanced with cloaking technology and AI targeting, could potentially turn the tide of the war. But it would be useless if they couldn't get them out of the facility in time. "Ready, Captain," Harris said, wiping sweat from her brow as she hit the final key on her terminal. Bonner nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. "Launch them. Now." The countdown began, and Bonner's fingers hovered above the control panel, his nerves taut as the seconds ticked away. The missile systems were online, the launch protocols initiated. This was humanity's last chance to strike back. As the countdown reached 0, the first missile shot out from its silo, its cloaking device activating instantly. It was invisible to the alien sensors as it rocketed into the atmosphere, heading toward the massive ships hovering above Earth. Bonner watched with bated breath as the missile gained speed, its trajectory locked on target. The first missile was only the beginning. Bonner knew they would need more than just one to stand a chance against the Empire. But for now, this was the start of humanity's retaliation, and the Galactic Empire would soon learn that they had underestimated Earth's resolve. As the missile disappeared into the vastness of space, Bonner allowed himself a small, grim smile. This was the moment of truth. Could this missile, and the others that would follow, be enough to change the course of the battle? Could Earth's obsolete technology become the weapon that would drive back the invaders? The answer, Bonner knew, would come soon enough. But for now, he could only watch as humanity's last hope rocketed toward the alien fleet, and hope that the Empire's arrogance would finally be their downfall. The moment of truth had arrived. Earth, a planet once dismissed as insignificant, its technology mocked by the galactic invaders, was finally about to fight back. For the first time in millennia, the people of Earth would fire back at their aggressors, armed with weapons that had been hidden away, forgotten in the annals of time. But now, with the Galactic Empire in full descent toward the planet, Earth's missile systems, upgraded with cloaking devices and AI targeting, would prove the invaders wrong. The Galactic Empire's massive ships continued their descent, their dark silhouettes blocking out the stars as they drew closer to the surface. They had fired on Earth relentlessly, causing devastation to cities and military bases, all with the belief that Earth was weak, too primitive to pose any real threat. They had underestimated the one thing that made humanity dangerous: their sheer will to survive. In the underground facility, Bonner stood at the control panel, watching the missile systems as they came to life. The countdown had begun, and with every passing second, the tension in the room grew unbearable. The engines of the missiles roared, the old systems groaning to life, but now enhanced with cloaking technology and the precision of AI. The weapons were no longer outdated, no longer the museum pieces the aliens had mocked. "All systems are go," Harris, one of Bonner's engineers, called out, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. Bonner's fingers hovered over the activation button, his heart pounding in his chest. This was it, the moment humanity had been waiting for, the moment they would show the galaxy that they would not go quietly into the night. He pressed the button. One by one, the missiles shot into the sky, cloaking devices activating as they ascended, blending seamlessly into the night. For the aliens, who thought they had total control, it was as if the missiles had disappeared. The galactic fleet, with all its might and advanced weaponry, had no idea that they were now under attack. Earth's retaliation had begun, and the shockwaves would soon reach the invaders. The first missile soared into the darkness, its sleek, almost invisible form gliding through the air. There was a moment of complete silence, a heartbeat in time, before it collided with one of the massive alien warships. The explosion was breathtaking. A burst of light so bright it illuminated the entire sky, followed by a thunderous shockwave that shook the ground beneath them. The alien warship was destroyed in an instant, its hull torn apart by the missile's force. Bonner's breath caught in his throat as he watched the scene unfold. This was not just a victory. It was proof that humanity could stand toe-to-toe with the most advanced empire the galaxy had ever seen. The missile strike was a statement, a message sent straight to the heart of the Galactic Empire. Earth was no longer weak. The control room erupted in cheers. Bonner's team, his small group of engineers, were elated. Their hard work had paid off. But even in their celebration, Bonner knew that this was just the beginning. They had taken down one ship, but there were still countless others in the sky, each one more powerful than the last. As the next missile launched, General Harris, Bonner's old mentor, stood beside him. Harris had been a pillar of strength for Bonner, guiding him when the rest of the world doubted his abilities. Now, as he watched Earth's missiles tear through the invaders' fleet, a look of astonishment crossed his face. His mouth was open in disbelief as the second missile struck down on another alien vessel, sending debris scattering in all directions. "Harris," Bonner said, his voice thick with emotion, "they're falling. "We're actually doing this." The general nodded slowly, his eyes not leaving the screen. "I never thought I'd see the day. Earth is fighting back." The missiles continued to strike with deadly precision, each one a symbol of humanity's resilience. The aliens, once so sure of their superiority, began to panic. Their communications scrambled as they attempted to regroup, their ships firing back in retaliation. But it was too late. The missiles had already done their damage, and the first wave of Earth's counterattack was already changing the tide of the battle. From the command center, Bonner watched as the alien fleet tried to retaliate, their energy beams shooting toward Earth's surface. But the missiles kept coming, one after another, each strike more devastating than the last. What the aliens hadn't counted on was Earth's ingenuity and determination. They had written humanity off as weak, primitive, unworthy of even a second glance. But now, as their fleet began to crumble under the onslaught, the Empire was realizing just how wrong they had been. Bonner's thoughts turned to his late brother, the soldier who had always believed in humanity's strength, even when everyone else doubted them. His brother had always said that it wasn't about the weapons you had, but the will to fight that mattered. Bonner now understood that on a level he had never fully grasped before. The missiles, the cloaking tech, the AI, it all mattered. But what mattered most was the fight inside every human heart. The first alien warship had been destroyed, then the second, and the third. The attacks were relentless, and Earth was starting to get the upper hand. The alien fleet had not anticipated such a fierce response. The once proud invaders now found themselves scrambling, trying to regroup after Earth's unexpected show of strength. For the first time in this war, the aliens were the ones on the defensive. Their enormous ships, once thought to be invincible, were now falling one by one, each destruction shaking the invaders to their core. They had mocked Earth's technology, calling it obsolete. Now they were paying the price for their arrogance. Bonner stood there, watching the chaos unfold on the screens. His heart was still racing, his mind still processing the fact that Earth, the planet everyone had written off, was now turning the tide of battle. The Galactic Empire, with all its might, was being forced to rethink its plans. The resilience of the human spirit was showing through in full force. The underdog story was becoming a reality. The once feeble humans, who had been laughed at for their outdated weapons and technology, were now standing toe-to-toe with an empire that had conquered countless civilizations. The missiles, once dismissed as relics, were now symbols of humanity's determination and courage. As the last missile shot toward its target, Bonner allowed himself a brief moment of triumph. The fight was far from over, but for the first time, humanity had proven that they could take on the greatest powers in the galaxy and emerge victorious. The Galactic Empire, for all its advanced technology, was now feeling the sting of Earth's might. The humans had struck back, and in doing so, they had sent a message not just to the invaders, but to the entire galaxy. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The battlefield had shifted. The once confident and powerful alien fleet, now in disarray after the unexpected assault by Earth's missile systems, was reeling from the blows. But the Galactic Empire, while taken aback, was not going to surrender easily. They quickly regrouped, and with their vast technological resources, they began to launch their counterattack. The ground shook with the weight of their new war machines as they deployed massive robotic units designed to eradicate Earth's missile systems. The aliens had no intention of letting Earth's missile strikes continue unchecked. Their robotic war units, towering behemoths of steel and laser weaponry, marched toward Earth's missile facilities, determined to destroy the very weapons that had turned the tide of battle. They were fast, they were deadly, and they were relentless. However, what the aliens didn't realize was that Earth's missile systems, now upgraded with sophisticated AI, had become more than just weapons. They were learning, adapting, and evolving at an astonishing rate. As the robotic units neared the missile silos, they were met with an unexpected response. Earth's missiles, once dismissed as outdated, began to target the new robotic threats with terrifying precision. The AI in the missiles was able to analyze the incoming threat and adapt to the aliens' movements, anticipating their every step. It was as if the missiles themselves were alive, thinking, reacting, and countering every move the robotic units made. The aliens were not prepared for this. Their robots, designed for sheer brute force, were suddenly outmaneuvered by the precision and intelligence of Earth's counterattack. The battle escalated as the missiles streaked through the sky, striking down the robotic war units one by one. The ground shook with explosions as each robotic giant fell to the earth, its metallic carcass crashing into the dirt. The AI-guided missiles didn't just destroy the machines, they outsmarted them at every turn. Meanwhile, on the ground, the human soldiers were engaged in their own battle. As the missiles rained down from above, a new wave of alien forces began to land on Earth, their ships unleashing waves of warriors in an attempt to fight the humans on their home turf. The human soldiers, many of them still reeling from the shock of the alien onslaught, found themselves thrust into a brutal close-quarters combat situation. Bonner's team was thrust into the heart of the conflict. They fought not just to defend their missile systems, but to protect their home and their loved ones. The streets became a war zone as alien soldiers clashed with human forces. Blazing gunfire lit up the darkened skies, and explosions shook the earth beneath them. The soldiers moved swiftly, using every bit of their training and every ounce of their strength to hold off the overwhelming force of the alien invaders. Bonner himself led his team through the chaos, dodging laser fire and returning fire with precision. He could hear the screams of his fellow soldiers, the cries of those who had fallen, but he couldn't stop. There was no time for grief. Not yet. Not when humanity's very existence was on the line. His mission was clear: keep the missile systems operational and eliminate the alien threat, no matter the cost. But even as Bonner and his team fought with everything they had, the emotional toll of the battle began to show. The weight of the loss, the sacrifices, was starting to take its toll on the soldiers. It wasn't just the alien attacks that threatened to break them. It was the personal sacrifices, the death of comrades, and the emotional scars that came with this war. Sergeant Rourke, one of Bonner's closest friends and a key member of his team, was one of the first to fall. He had always been a calm and collected presence on the battlefield, a steady hand in the chaos. But as the alien forces closed in on their position, Rourke made the ultimate sacrifice. He stayed behind to ensure that the missile systems remained online, giving Bonner and the others a chance to escape. As the aliens closed in on his position, Rourke detonated an explosive charge, taking out several of the enemy soldiers and buying the team precious time. Bonner didn't have time to mourn his fallen friend immediately. There was no time for grief, only action. But the death of Rourke hit him hard. It wasn't just a loss of a soldier. It was the loss of a friend, a brother in arms. It was a reminder of the cost of this war, the price humanity was paying for their fight to survive. The battle raged on. The alien forces continued to push forward, their robotic war machines and soldiers overwhelming the human defenses. But despite the losses, despite the odds stacked against them, Bonner and his team refused to give up. They fought with the knowledge that every alien they took down brought them one step closer to victory. Every missile that launched, every soldier that fell, was part of a greater mission to ensure that humanity would survive. Back at the Missile Control Center, the AI systems continued to adapt and evolve. They had learned from the robotic threats, and now they were anticipating the next move. As the alien forces made their final push, the missiles, now fully operational and fully aware of their environment, began to target the alien command ships. With AI-driven precision, they destroyed ship after ship, reducing the alien fleet to rubble. On the battlefield, the humans were holding their ground. The soldiers, though tired and bloodied, continued to fight with everything they had. Bonner could see it in their eyes, the resolve, the determination. They had lost so much, but they had not lost their will to fight. They had not lost their will to survive. And then, as the alien forces began to retreat, Bonner's heart swelled with a mixture of pride and sorrow. The battle had been long, the losses heavy, but humanity had proven itself. They had fought back against the most powerful empire in the galaxy, and they had won. But the victory came at a high cost. Sergeant Rourke, along with countless others, had given their lives to ensure that Earth would survive. Their sacrifices would not be forgotten. Bonner vowed to honor their memory, to continue the fight until the last alien was driven from Earth. As the smoke cleared and the alien ships retreated, Bonner looked around at the devastation. The ground was littered with debris, and the once beautiful landscape of Earth had been scared by war. But humanity had survived. The human spirit, forged in fire, had emerged victorious. It was a victory, but it was a victory that came with a deep cost. And Bonner knew that the war was not over. The Galactic Empire had been dealt a devastating blow, but they would be back. There was no time to rest. The fight was far from over, and Bonner and his team would be ready. The humans, battered and bruised from days of relentless fighting, knew that this was their last chance to push the alien invaders back. The time had come for a decisive strike, a final offensive that would determine the fate of humanity. In the command center, Bonner stood tall, his eyes focused on the mission at hand. The weight of what was about to unfold weighed heavily on his shoulders, but he knew that there was no turning back. It was all or nothing now. The human forces, armed with their newly upgraded missile systems and bolstered by the power of advanced AI technology, were ready. Bonner had seen the strength and resilience of his fellow soldiers, and he knew they had one last push left in them. They had come so far, endured so much, and now it was time to turn the tide. With a command that resonated throughout the entire base, Bonner gave the order. A swarm of missiles, cloaked and enhanced with AI, shot into the sky, heading straight for the heart of the alien fleet. These missiles, once written off as obsolete, had become humanity's secret weapon. Now, they were about to make their final stand. The battle that followed was a whirlwind of chaos, both in space and on Earth's surface. The alien fleet, vast and seemingly unstoppable, was now under attack from all sides. The missiles struck with pinpoint accuracy, blending into the night sky thanks to their cloaking technology. As each missile reached its target, explosions erupted across the alien fleet, sending shockwaves that reverberated across the stars. Bonner, now in the command center, watched as the battle unfolded before him. The screen displayed the destruction of alien ships one by one, each missile strike sending a clear message. Humanity was not to be underestimated. But it was more than just the victories that weighed on him. It was the cost of each victory. For every alien ship that fell, a human soldier had paid the price. The tension was palpable. Bonner's heart raced as the screens flickered with the image of exploding ships and falling debris. Each victory felt like a bittersweet triumph. He could see his fallen comrades in his mind. Sergeant Rourke, General Harris, and countless others who had given their lives to ensure that humanity had a chance at survival. Their faces flashed in his memory, urging him forward. The humans were not just fighting for their own survival anymore. They were fighting for the legacy of those who had fallen. With every missile launch, every explosion that rocked the alien fleet, Bonner knew that they were honoring the sacrifices of those who had already given everything. The missiles continued to strike, their AI systems flawlessly adapting to every move the alien fleet made. The aliens, caught off guard by the unexpected resistance, were now scrambling to regroup. They had underestimated humanity's resolve, and now they were paying the price. The power of Earth's reclaimed technology was on full display as the once mighty alien ships fell one by one, their shields and weapons no match for the precision and adaptability of the human missiles. As the battle raged on, Bonner could feel the turning of the tide. The aliens, once so confident in their superiority, were now beginning to panic. Their fleet, which had once seemed invincible, was crumbling before their eyes. Earth's missiles, with their cloaking devices and advanced AI, had become a force that the alien empire simply could not counter. The orbital bombardment lit up the sky like a firestorm, with explosions erupting across the battlefield. From his vantage point in the command center, Bonner could see the chaos unfold on the ground as well. The humans, despite their losses, were pushing forward with everything they had left. The alien forces, now on the defensive, were retreating, but the humans were relentless. On the surface of Earth, soldiers engaged in fierce ground combat, fighting tooth and nail to hold their ground. The sound of gunfire echoed through the streets, and explosions lit up the darkened skies as the final wave of alien forces attempted to make their last stand. But it was too late. The humans were not just defending. They were advancing, reclaiming their world with every step. Bonner, standing at the command center, watched as the final push began. The remaining alien ships, once thought to be invincible, were now fleeing from Earth. It was a sight he would never forget. The mighty alien fleet, retreating in disgrace, beaten by the very people they had once deemed inferior. But even as the aliens retreated, Bonner knew that the fight was far from over. This was just the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. The humans had proven that, despite being the underdog, they were more than capable of defeating a superior force. They had shown that with resilience, innovation, and a refusal to give up, they could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. As the last of the alien ships disappeared from Earth's orbit, Bonner felt a mix of relief and sorrow. The battle was won, but the scars of war would remain. Humanity had survived, but the cost had been high. Too many lives had been lost, and too much had been sacrificed. But in that moment, as Bonner stood surrounded by his team, watching the retreat of the alien invaders, he knew one thing for certain: humanity would never be underestimated again. The victory was not just a testament to the strength of Earth's military, but to the indomitable will of its people. The aliens had underestimated them, mocked their technology, and called them weak. But now, they would know the truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was strong. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. And with that, Bonner turned his gaze toward the horizon, knowing that the fight for Earth had just begun. There would be no rest, no time for celebration. The war was over, but the future was uncertain. The aliens would retreat for now, but Bonner knew they would return. And when they did, humanity would be ready. As the last remnants of the alien fleet vanished into the distance, the humans stood tall, battered but unbroken. They had fought, and they had won. And no matter what the future held, they would face it with the same unyielding spirit that had carried them through this war. They had turned the tide, and now the galaxy would know the true power of humanity. The final battle had been long and brutal, but it had all led to this moment. The Galactic Empire's flagship, a symbol of their technological superiority and their ruthless domination over the galaxy, was no more. As the massive ship exploded in a fiery display of destruction, the remnants of the alien force began to scatter. Panic spread like wildfire through their ranks. Their once unshakable confidence had evaporated, replaced by the cold reality that their grand empire had been shattered by the very species they had mocked and underestimated. Humanity had emerged victorious. However, this victory did not come without a great cost. The battle had taken a heavy toll. Thousands of soldiers, engineers, and civilians had lost their lives. Cities had been leveled, and the Earth itself bore the scars of the fierce conflict. The price of survival was steep, but the human spirit had proven unbreakable. The aliens, with all their advanced technology and seemingly limitless resources, had fallen before the sheer will and determination of humanity. The final blow had been delivered not by superior firepower or overwhelming numbers, but through courage, sacrifice, and innovation. The humans had fought with every ounce of their strength, and in the end, it was their resilience and their ability to adapt that had secured their triumph. The missiles, once seen as outdated relics, had become the ultimate symbol of Earth's strength. Armed with AI technology and cloaking devices, they had pierced the heart of the alien fleet, striking down ship after ship with unmatched precision. The theme of good versus evil had never been more evident. The Galactic Empire, with its cold, calculating eye-controlled armies, had represented the oppressive, soulless forces of tyranny. Their mission was clear: to crush any form of resistance and impose their will on every corner of the galaxy. The AI that powered their war machines had been programmed with only one goal: to dominate and control. It was a machine-driven empire, devoid of empathy or compassion. In contrast, humanity had fought for freedom, for survival, and for the memory of those who had already given their lives. The human forces, though outnumbered and technologically inferior, had defeated the AI supremacy of the Galactic Empire through sheer willpower. Their victory symbolized the eternal fight between good and evil, the struggle between oppressive forces and the unyielding desire for freedom and justice. The humans had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, goodness could prevail. As Bonner stood on the battlefield, looking at the smoking wreckage of the alien fleet, he couldn't help but think of the sacrifices made by so many. He thought of Sergeant Rourke, who had given his life to ensure the missile systems remained operational. He remembered General Harris, who had led them through the darkest days of the war, and countless others who had fought and died for this moment. Their faces haunted him, and the weight of their loss pressed heavily on his heart. But amidst the grief, there was also a sense of pride. They had done it. Humanity had triumphed. In the days that followed, Bonner found himself standing at a memorial dedicated to those who had fallen. The names of the brave men and women who had given everything were etched into stone, a permanent reminder of their sacrifice. Bonner placed a hand over his heart, honoring their memory. He had fought alongside these warriors, shared their pain, and now their victory was his. It was a bittersweet moment, filled with both pride and sorrow. The missiles, once considered obsolete, were now symbols of Earth's victory over the alien empire. They had been dismissed by the Galactic Empire as nothing more than museum pieces, relics of a bygone era. But those same missiles, enhanced with human ingenuity and the power of AI, had been the key to humanity's survival. They had roared to life when the aliens least expected it, proving that humanity was far from weak. The missiles, once forgotten, had become the instruments of Earth's triumph. Bonner stood at the memorial, his mind heavy with memories of the war. He thought of the families who had lost loved ones, of the cities that had been reduced to rubble, and of the countless lives that had been altered forever. But through it all, one thing remained clear: humanity had proven that it was not to be underestimated. The Galactic Empire had been a force of destruction, built on the foundation of artificial intelligence and advanced technology. But in the end, it was the human spirit that had triumphed. The very thing that the aliens had dismissed as inferior, human creativity, adaptability, and heart, had been their undoing. The humans had shown that even in the face of overwhelming power, the desire for freedom, justice, and the protection of their loved ones could never be extinguished. As Bonner looked at the memorial, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The war was over, but the fight for Earth's future was just beginning. The aliens had been defeated, but there were still challenges ahead. The human race had been forever changed by the war, but it had emerged stronger, united, and more determined than ever before. The battle between good and evil was far from over. There would always be forces that sought to dominate, to control, and to oppress. But humanity had proven that it would never bow to tyranny. The war had been won, but the fight for freedom, for justice, and for the survival of the human race would continue. In the quiet aftermath of the war, as Bonner stood among the graves of his fallen comrades, he knew that Earth would never be the same again. The scars of battle would remain, but so would the legacy of those who had fought and sacrificed for the future. The humans had won, not just with technology, but with their hearts and minds. They had turned the tide of history, and in doing so, they had proved that no matter the odds, the fight for good would always endure. They called it a museum piece, Bonner whispered, his voice steady but filled with emotion, until the human missiles roared to life. And with that, humanity's victory was sealed.